What we waiting for? She smiles her smile at me. Me and the lads look at each other. Now, I say. Now, say the other two. This way then, she says, and we set off, running again. Quite a girl, says Mam. Aye, says Harry. He goes silent again. Mam says, does he want more tea? He says yes. She goes to make it. I look at me watch. I think about Jaxie. I think about running around Jesmond Dean. Things to do, says Harry. Aye. He nods. I'll not be long. I cannot be. Or like Stanley said, by the time I'll finish, I'll be bloomin' dead. More tea. Good lass. Oh, and a slice of jam and bread and all. Mam smiles with him. Eat it up, she says. It'll give you strength. And he eats and wipes his lips with his shaky hand, and after a moment he starts again. So we run out of Felon and down through Pelo and Bill Key and into Hebben, and it's getting hot as hell and staying bright as heaven, and Veronica runs smooth and free beside us, and our feet clatter and beat on the tracks and pavements, and sometimes we walk and rest and gather our breath and run again, and sometimes we shout out to folks we pass. We run into South Shields, and we run from Blenkinsop Street in Newcastle and from the Fallon station, and they say they don't believe it. They say it's such a bloomin' wonder. Good lads, they say. Good lass. Run, run. There's a wolf at your tail. Run for your lives. And people give us water, and a baker from heaven gives us cakes. And we run and run and run and run. And we get to Jarrow. And we rest in the shade under the trees in St John's churchyard. And we watch a coffin being carried from a hearse through a group of mourners and put into the ground. And out of the blue, Veronica stretches her arms out wide and says, they said I might not live at all. Just look what I can do. How do you mean? Says Mam. That's what I says. How do you mean? Veronica shrugs. I was a weakly child, she says. I was back and forward to the doors of death. Me and the lads is hushed. There were different days back then. There were many little uns took too soon. Stanley, his cell sister, got gone before he was born. Are you all right now? He whispers to Veronica, and she laughs the way she did. Now how could I run to South Shields if I wasn't, Stanley? And up she jumps, with her big heart and her big soul and her strong legs and her big boots, and we're off again. And as we leave Jarrow behind, we start telling each other we can smell the sea, which is more a matter of hope than truth. No sign of any sea, no sign of any South Shields. We've soon been gone 2 hours. It's afternoon, it's blazing hot. We're absolutely shattered. We're slowing down. Nobody says it, but we're all thinking of giving up. Even Veronica starts puffing and panting and gasping for air, and Stanley's watching her with great concern. And then we hear it, the clip-clop of Gabrielle's pony and the toot of Gabrielle's horn. He laughs at the memory. It come upon us like a miracle. The ice cream maker, says Mam. Aye, Mr. Angelo Gabrielli, the master ice cream maker of South Shields. He's on an ice cream cart that's painted all white and red and gold. The pony's shining black. Mr. Gabrielli's sitting there in his white shirt and his white trousers and his white cap with Gabrielli's printed on it. And there's a great big tub of ice cream at his side. He toots his horn again. He laughs. Bye, Gabrielli, he calls. Best ice cream this side of heaven. And he tugs the pony to a halt at our side. We halt as well. We puff and pant. We drool. We watch the shining tub. I think of Veronica's cash. Never mind the train, I think. Buy some ice creams now. Good afternoon, my fine children, says Mr. Gabrielli. And where might you be going on this perfect day? South Shields, I tell him. He grins in satisfaction. The perfect destination. Your names, my friends? We tell him our names. I tell him we've run all the way from Newcastle and Felon. Indeed, he says. I thought you looked a little bit hot. Perhaps a little ice cream would be rather helpful. We daren't speak. We look at Veronica. Our eyes and hearts are yearning. Perhaps a little one now, says Mr. Gabrielli. And the biggest one you've ever seen when you reach the beach. And he opens the tub and digs into it and gives us an ice cream for free. Ha! And nothing I've tasted in 70 years since has tasted anything like this glorious gift. Mr. Gabrielli smiles as he watches us. He ponders. I could offer you a lift, he says. And Norman's mouth is opening wide with joy, but Veronica's is shaking her head and telling him, yes, you're right, Veronica, says Mr. Gabrielli. This is an achievement you will remember all your lives. Don't worry, boys. It's not far now. Along here then, right until the lovely ocean road. And then at the end of that, the shining sea itself. I will meet you there. He snaps the reins. Onward, Francisco, until we meet again, my friends. And off he trots. Harry rests. He gazes out at the trees and the sky. Mam brings more tea. You've not told anybody this until now, she says. I've told bits of it, Pet, just bits of crack and reminiscing at the club, but I've never told it all the way through with detail in it. Even now there'll be bits I must have left out. It was such an amazing thing, Harry, Mam says. Like Mr. Gabrielli says, such a great achievement. Aye, that's true, and it was a day of daftness and joy. And if we'd never started and we never kept going on, just think of what we would have missed. He smiles, like he's slipping into a dream. So we kept on going and we kept on going. We followed Gabrielli's cart until it went right out of sight, and we kept on going with the lovely thought of a massive ice cream still to come. And then we're on Ocean Road, and there's seagulls in the air and breeze in our faces, and this time we can truly smell the sea. And then, I can see it, mates, I can really see the sea. And Harry's eyes are wide, like he can see the sea again. And he's there, like he said he would be, Mr. Gabrielli, sitting up on his cart, and he smiles to welcome us and holds his arms out wide. Now, he says, which should come first, the ice cream or the sea? And we didn't hesitate. We're straight onto the beach and plunging into the water. And when we look back, there's Mr. Gabrielli laughing at us as we jump and dive and tumble through the waves. Then we stand together and he photographs us, and we come out and he leads us to his cart and he gives us the biggest ice creams we've ever seen. Then he photographs us again, and he has our certificates ready, and we sit on the sand and we read them to each other. And then Mr. Gabrielli asks if we know that we are wonderful, and he sings us something. I've never heard it before, and I've never heard it since, except in dreams. Something Italian and strange and very beautiful. He points to the envelope. Should be something else in there, he says. He got some passerby to take it. Mam slips her fingers inside and takes out another photograph. Everybody's in it, standing smiling before the ice cream cart, and Francisco the shining pony. Harry, Veronica, Stanley and Norman with their certificates, and lovely Mr. Gabrielli himself in his white with Gabrielli's printed on his cap. And past them is the beach, and then the sea. And me and Mam don't say anything, though we can see that Harry and Veronica are standing right together, holding hands. And then, says Harry, we give our addresses to Mr. Gabrielli and we say goodbye. And back we go up Ocean Road to the railway station. And then we get the train and off it puffs through Jarrow and Hebburn and Pelo and Heworth, doing in minutes what took us so long. And then along the track to Felham. And Veronica, says Mam. She got off there and we went on and we were home in time for tea. You know what I mean? Did you ever see her again? Most nights in me dreams, no more than that. He shakes his head, closes his eyes and then points to the box. That brown packet there, he says. She lifts it out. Gan on, he says. She opens it and there they are, Harry and Veronica. They're on the Tyne Bridge, maybe 18 years old. The breeze is in their hair and there are seagulls in the air behind them, and they're laughing out loud and holding hands again. Aye, he says. He takes the photograph and holds it. We made sure we found each other again, and we were together for a time, and she really was something else. But then his voice falters. He shakes his head. Not now, love. I'm shattered. The lad's got running to do, and I've got a home to go to, and you've got some helping out to do. OK then, Harry, says Mam. She kisses him. She tells him to close his eyes, to have a rest. Aye, I will, he says. He licks his lips and stares into the photograph. Do you think, he says to Mam. Think what, Harry? Do you think there's a heaven, that he used to say there was, a heaven where we might meet again? I don't know, Harry. Me neither, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is heaven. Maybe you went to heaven on the best days, like the day we got the shields, like other days. Days with her, with Veronica. Aye, days with Veronica. His eyes flutter. He looks at me. You're a good lad. Get started, keep going, you'll have a lovely life. He closes his eyes. You know what? He murmurs before he sleeps. My great achievement is that I've been happy, and I've never been nowt but happy. Go on, son, says Mam. Go and see Jaxie, get your training in. Harry never got to St Mary's nursing home. He died that afternoon while I was running with Jaxie in Jesmond Dean. Mam said he just slipped away, like he was going into a deep sleep. She arranged the funeral. People came to our house afterwards. We played a CD of Italian songs. There was beer in a big tub of ice cream, and there was crying and lots of laughter. I ran again that afternoon with Jaxie, and I heard Harry deep inside me. That's right, lad, run, there's a wolf at your tail, run for your lovely life. A week later, we ran the Great North Run. We belted round the quayside, across the bridges, hundreds of us running through the sunlight by the glittering river and through the cheering crowds. We raced each other to the finish line. Me and my best mate, Jaxie, numbers 2593 and 2594. And Jaxie just got there in front of me. It didn't matter. We stood arm in arm with our medals and certificates. We laughed into Mam's camera. We were young and daft. We'd run and we felt free and light, and I really thought I might have run into a bit of heaven. Next day, she drove us all to the Felon. We stood on a bypass, and here they came, the thin, fast lines of professionals and champions and record holders and harriers. Then the others, hundreds after hundreds, running and panting and puffing and gasping. Here came the young and the old, the determined and the balmy. They waved and they grimaced and they sighed and they giggled. They squirted water over their heads and over us. There were gorillas and ducks and supermans and bishops and Frankensteins and Draculas and nurses. And the watchers laughed and yelled. You're doing great, yelled Mam. Good lad, good lass, gan on, well done. And then I saw them. They were kids, too young for this run. 3 skinny lads in vests and boots that thudded on the road. A dark-haired lass in boots as well and wearing a white dress. They twisted and dodged and threaded their way through the crowd, and I looked at Mam a moment and her eyes were wide with astonishment and wonder as well. As the 4 of them passed by, one of the lads lifted his hand high and waved at us and laughed, and then was off again, and they'd gone, lost in the crowd, a crowd that kept on running past, a crowd we couldn't wait to join, a crowd that seemed like the whole of Tyneside, the whole of the world, all running through the blazing sunlight to the sea.